What if I told you your mind is capable of blind loyalty, even when it's detrimental to your own well-being, and this phenomenon is not just limited to personal relationships, but also extends to our habits, ideologies, and even our perception of reality? You see, our minds have a tendency to cling to certain relationships, ideas, or habits, even when they're no longer serving us, and this is often rooted in our deep-seated need for consistency and familiarity. This need for consistency is so strong that it can lead us to ignore contradictory evidence, deny reality, and even sacrifice our own well-being, all in the name of maintaining a sense of continuity and stability.
For instance, consider the case of a person who continues to smoke despite knowing the devastating health consequences, simply because it's a habit they've had for years and it provides them with a sense of comfort and familiarity.
This is a classic example of how our mind's tendency to prioritize loyalty over self-preservation can lead us down a path of self-destruction. Consider the story of a person who stays in a toxic friendship, despite being constantly belittled and disrespected.
This person may have a deep-seated need for validation and acceptance, which keeps them tied to the toxic friend, but it's also possible that they're staying in the friendship due to a fear of being alone, or a fear of the unknown.
This fear can be so overwhelming that it leads them to prioritize the familiarity of the toxic friendship over the potential benefits of ending it, even if it means sacrificing their own emotional well-being. It's a pattern that's hard to break, and it's often fueled by our mind's tendency to prioritize loyalty over self-preservation, as well as our deep-seated need for social connection and belonging. For example, research has shown that people who have a strong need for social connection and belonging are more likely to stay in toxic relationships, even if it means sacrificing their own happiness and well-being.
You're watching Mind Unlocked, where we decode the hidden patterns of the human mind, and today we're going to explore the fascinating topic of blind loyalty and how it affects our lives.
The concept of blind loyalty is closely tied to attachment styles, which were first explored by psychologists John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. They discovered that our early relationships with caregivers shape our attachment patterns, influencing how we form and maintain relationships throughout our lives. And here is the part that hits close to home: our attachment style can dictate how we respond to stress, conflict, and even our own emotional needs, often in ways that are outside of our conscious awareness. For instance, someone with an anxious attachment style may be more prone to people-pleasing and seeking constant reassurance, while someone with an avoidant attachment style may be more likely to distance themselves from others and suppress their emotions. Think about the last time you found yourself sticking with someone or something that wasn't good for you. You have probably done this, and you just didn't realize it. Maybe it was a romantic relationship, a job, or a friendship that had run its course. Whatever it was, your mind's blind loyalty kept you tied to it, even when your intuition was screaming at you to let go. This phenomenon is often referred to as the sunk cost fallacy, where we continue to invest time, energy, and resources into something because of the amount we've already invested, even if it no longer serves us. This fallacy can lead us to stay in unfulfilling relationships, pursue dead-end careers, and even cling to outdated beliefs and ideologies, all because we're afraid to admit that our initial investment was a mistake. For example, consider the case of a person who stays in a dead-end job simply because they've invested so much time and energy into it, even though it's no longer providing them with a sense of purpose or fulfillment. The shift happens when we become aware of our attachment style and how it's influencing our relationships. We can start to recognize the patterns that keep us stuck and make conscious decisions to break free. It's not always easy, but it's a crucial step in taking control of our lives and our well-being. By developing a greater awareness of our attachment style, we can begin to identify the triggers that lead us to engage in blind loyalty, and develop strategies to overcome them. For instance, someone with an anxious attachment style may need to work on building their self-esteem and developing a sense of self-worth that's not dependent on others, while someone with an avoidant attachment style may need to work on developing their emotional intelligence and learning to communicate their needs and feelings more effectively. So, the next time you find yourself clinging to something that's no longer serving you, ask yourself, is this really what I want? Or is my mind's blind loyalty holding me back? It's a question that requires honesty and self-reflection, but it's one that can lead to profound insights and personal growth. By recognizing the ways in which our mind's blind loyalty is holding us back, we can begin to break free from the patterns that are limiting us, and develop a more authentic and fulfilling sense of self.
For example, consider the case of a person who finally works up the courage to leave a toxic relationship, only to discover that they have a newfound sense of freedom and empowerment.
This is a classic example of how breaking free from blind loyalty can lead to personal growth and transformation. As we explore the concept of blind loyalty, it's also important to consider the role of social and cultural norms in shaping our behavior. Often, we're socialized to prioritize loyalty and commitment over our own needs and desires, and this can lead us to stay in relationships or situations that are no longer serving us. For instance, consider the case of a person who stays in a loveless marriage due to social pressure or a fear of being judged by others. This is a classic example of how social and cultural norms can lead us to prioritize blind loyalty over our own well-being. By recognizing the ways in which these norms are influencing our behavior, we can begin to challenge them and develop a more authentic sense of self. Furthermore, the concept of blind loyalty is also closely tied to the idea of cognitive dissonance, which refers to the feeling of discomfort or tension that arises when we hold two conflicting beliefs or values. When we're faced with the possibility that our loyalty is misplaced, we may experience cognitive dissonance, which can lead us to rationalize or deny the evidence that's staring us in the face. For example, consider the case of a person who continues to support a political ideology despite evidence that it's harming their community, simply because they've invested so much of their identity in it. This is a classic example of how cognitive dissonance can lead us to cling to blind loyalty, even when it's no longer serving us. In addition to cognitive dissonance, the concept of blind loyalty is also closely tied to the idea of emotional investment. When we're emotionally invested in a relationship or situation, we're more likely to prioritize loyalty over our own needs and desires. This emotional investment can be driven by a range of factors, including a deep-seated need for love and connection, a fear of abandonment or rejection, or a desire for control and power. By recognizing the ways in which our emotional investment is driving our behavior, we can begin to develop a more nuanced understanding of our motivations and desires, and make more informed decisions about how to move forward. As we continue to explore the concept of blind loyalty, it's also important to consider the role of self-compassion and self-awareness in breaking free from its grasp.
When we're able to cultivate a sense of self-compassion and self-awareness, we're better able to recognize the patterns that are holding us back, and develop the courage and resilience to make changes. For example, consider the case of a person who finally works up the courage to leave a toxic job, simply because they've developed a greater sense of self-awareness and self-compassion.
This is a classic example of how self-compassion and self-awareness can lead to personal growth and transformation. In conclusion, the concept of blind loyalty is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon that affects us all in different ways. By recognizing the ways in which our mind's blind loyalty is holding us back, we can begin to break free from the patterns that are limiting us, and develop a more authentic and fulfilling sense of self. Whether it's a toxic relationship, a dead-end job, or a limiting belief system, our mind's blind loyalty can be a powerful obstacle to overcome, but it's also an opportunity for growth and transformation. By cultivating a greater awareness of our attachment style, challenging social and cultural norms, and developing a more nuanced understanding of our emotional investment, we can begin to break free from the grasp of blind loyalty and live a more authentic and fulfilling life. Subscribe to Mind Unlocked for more insights into how your mind really works, and join us next time as we explore more fascinating topics and ideas that will help you unlock your full potential and live a more authentic and fulfilling life. By subscribing to our channel, you'll gain access to a wealth of knowledge and information that will help you navigate the complexities of the human mind, and develop the skills and strategies you need to succeed in all areas of your life. Whether you're looking to improve your relationships, advance your career, or simply cultivate a greater sense of self-awareness and self-compassion, Mind Unlocked is the perfect resource for you. So why wait? Subscribe now and start unlocking your full potential today.